Hello and welcome to episode 65 of my podcast all about knitting and crochet in my yarn shop here in Wiesbaden, Germany. I'm Kiko and today is September 14th, 2020. Today I'm wearing a shawl that I did not knit myself, but I knit this exact same shawl with the same pattern and the same yarn, but in a slightly different color. And the thing was that I had ordered the yarn. It was a part of a, I think you would say yarn club or pattern club that I had years ago. And I got one pattern every month. And then every other month I got the yarn to knit this pattern. So this was one of the yarns and one of the patterns. And this is a lace weight yarn that for the main part of the shawl is held double and just knit in stockinette stitch. And then for the lace part, the yarn is held, you just hold a single strand of yarn. That's what I'm trying to say. So the lace bit is really very light and very open and very beautiful. And a friend of mine saw this shawl and she liked it and she said she was going to order the same yarn and the same pattern. And she did. But when her yarn arrived, the color was just a little bit different from the one that I had. And I liked her color better and she liked my color better. So she knit the scarf with the yarn that she had ordered and then we swapped. So this is the shawl that she made and she wears the shawl that I made. And I made a video about this shawl. It's only in German, but I showed how I mended some holes. For some reason, this shawl had a few holes in it after some time, so you can see the yarn looks a bit lighter in the place where I mended it. It's not very obvious, I don't mind. Here's another spot. It's hard to see. Here and here I think it was mended. And just to show how I go about doing these things, I made a little video. I'm sure you can, if you have a look at it, maybe you can learn something even if you don't understand the language. So that's the shawl I'm wearing. And this top I knit almost exactly a year ago. So I finished it last year, September, beginning of September sometime. And it's a pattern from a German magazine that's pretty old. And it's the second time I knit this pattern. I don't very often knit the same pattern several times, but I really like the first top that I knit in this pattern, and it was the same yarn but in a different color. And the yarn was for sale back when I bought it, so I bought two colors because I liked them both, and then I knit the one and never got round to doing the second. And then last year my sister said that she really liked the old one because the colors suit her, and I said okay, she can have that one and I'll finally get around to knitting the other one, and now we can go in partner look and have the same pattern top. And mine has these bright colors and hers is in a darker mix of blue and pink and purple, and so that's quite nice. And this is probably the last summery day of the year here in Germany, so I'm very happy to be able to wear something like this. So that's what I'm wearing, and then on to finished objects. I have two finished objects today, and one that you know about and one you don't. So I'll start with the little one. I crocheted a bee. I had a pupil come in who wanted to learn to knit, to crochet. She already knew some basics, so we went through the different stitches, and then she said she wanted to crochet a bee like that, and so I just joined her and crocheted a little bee, just for fun. But then crafting should be fun, shouldn't it? And then I finished the promise dress. This is a crochet dress, and the pattern name is Promise. And the pattern will be released sometime at the end of the month. And I really put in a lot of work during this last week to finish this in time, because I was testing the pattern and the deadline for the test was today. So I'm really happy it's done now. I still need to sit down and write an email to the designer and let her know what I thought, where I had problems. I didn't really have a lot of problems, just a few thoughts that I want to share with her. And yeah, so this is the crochet dress promise. It's finished, but it hasn't been washed yet, so I'll do that this week. And I don't think it's going to change a lot because I won't block it or anything. Yeah. So it's surprisingly warm, even though it's a cotton, probably because it's crocheted, and it's crochet is always a bit thicker than knitting. It's also quite heavy. It's almost 700 grams, the whole dress. But I'm very happy with how it came out, and I'm very happy with how it fits me, and yeah, can't wait to wear it. So that's the crochet dress promise. One of the things I'm going to write to the designer is that I had a bit of a problem getting gauge. The yarn is supposed to be a DK weight yarn, and she writes to crochet with a 4mm hook, and I did that and it came out way too small. I'm a very tight crocheter. I'm a tight knitter, but a very tight crocheter. So if I had used the 4mm needle, I would have had to add another round to get to the 10 centimeters that I was supposed to have. But I didn't want to do that because then the look would have been completely different. So instead I tried a 6mm hook, and that's what I actually used to crochet this dress. And that was quite a surprise. You're not supposed to use such a big hook for that yarn. But on the other hand, it means that it's a lot looser than I usually work with this yarn, but it means it drapes nicer. I think if I had used a 4mm needle, it would have been quite rigid. But because it's I crocheted it more loosely, it drapes differently, and I really like the way it looks. So someday I'll wear it on the video, and then you can see it on me, and then you'll understand what I'm trying to say. Okay, I'll just get rid of that as it's actually quite warm today. Now, on to works in progress. I did not work on too many things the last week because of the dress. I was crocheting every minute I had, and I mainly knit on some smaller things that I could knit on or crochet on the way, because the dress was not really portable, especially in the stage where I was still adding the squares together. I put them out on the table in the order I wanted to have them, so I really had to sit here at the table and work on it. And then I took it home to sew the seams and to add the borders. That's what I did yesterday. Anyway, I did knit a little bit on my socks. I'm knitting what I call a sock couple, so it's a Christmas present for a couple that I give socks to every Christmas. And I had finished her sock last week and started the second one. I just added a few rounds on the leg on that second sock, but I finished the first of his socks. So these are his socks. It's the same pattern. It's Hermione's everyday sock. And I had planned to knit the sock exactly as per pattern, and I did that for her socks. So this is what Hermione's everyday sock is supposed to look like, with a slip stitch heel flap and a gusset and everything. And this toe is, I don't know, probably called a rounded toe, but it has some Kitchener stitch at the front of the sock. And last night I was knitting the toe for this sock, and I was already a bit tired and I wasn't really thinking. And I was just so happy that I had finished knitting the foot, because I'm not really used to knitting these big socks. My feet are a lot smaller. So I was just happy to be finishing off the first sock. And I thought, well, I can finish that before today's video. And I knit the wrong toe. So I knit this is what we call, in German is called a star toe. You decrease at 8 different points, and the decreases come... the distance between the decreases decrease. So that's the way the toe is shaped. And I like knitting that toe because I don't have to think about it. I know the numbers by heart, and it's easy to do. And I think it was only after I'd finished it, or maybe it was only today, that I suddenly realized I'd done the wrong toe. So, as I said, the pattern is the same, the heels are the same, but the toes are different now. But I'm not going to rip it out. It's a perfectly fine toe, and I know the recipients won't notice, and I think it's okay. I just thought it's funny, so I wanted to show you. Yeah, I started the second sock last night because I really like to get it started as soon as I finish the first one. Just a few rounds. So these are the second socks for my sock couple. And I did not get around to starting another pair of socks. Hope to get that done this week, but then I hope to get a lot of things done this week. We'll see what happens. I added a few rounds to the baby surprise jacket. Not too much happened here, but yeah, it just needs to grow into a jacket. It's a DK weight opal sock yarn, Sweet Dreams, and I think it's a nice color for a little baby boy. This is going to be a very short video today because I'm only down to 2 more projects. I finished the first of the pot holders that I was asked to do. So this is it's the same cotton yarn that I use for the dress, but these are multicolor balls, and the recipient picked these 2 colors, and I held them double to get the kind of color mix that she wanted. And I realized at some point that the 2 balls wouldn't be enough for a whole pair of pot holders, and I didn't really want to start 2 new balls, so I decided to go until the light yarn, I had used up half the ball of the light yarn, and then I doubled the dark yarn. That's why it's so small. I didn't have a second ball to hand, so I used both ends of this ball, and I think it's not very obvious, but I think you can see the last 5 rows when crocheted with the dark yarn held double. And and for the second pot holder, I'll just use the 2 colors again, and then I'll start a new ball of the dark yarn. And once the light yarn is gone, I'll start doubling the dark again, so that I get 2 pot holders that look the same. And but I will only have used 3 balls of yarn and not 4. So I thought that was pretty clever. Yeah. I've realized again I don't really enjoy crocheting pot holders because you have to crochet them quite tightly for them to work and keep your hands safe. But it's a lot of work, and especially after crocheting the dress in a very loose gauge is quite a change to be doing the very tight crocheting. So for the dress, I used this yarn, a single thread. I crochet with a 6mm needle, and here I'm using the yarn held double, and I'm using a 4mm needle. So it's really, really crazy. But sometimes that's what it takes. And I'm already down to my Gemini pullover that we do as a knit-along, which uses the exact same colors as the pot holder. I can show you the difference in the knitting and crocheting and the single yarn and double yarn in a minute. We are knitting the Gemini pullover from knitty.com. This is one side of the pullover where you have stockinette for the front or back. There's a lace pattern on the sleeves, and then the other front or back has the same lace pattern. And you can choose whether this is your front or this is the front, or you can wear it. Differently every time you wear it, something like that. And I had last week, I think I showed you I'd finished the increases, but I hadn't gotten around to separating the sleeves as I wanted to film that, and I did that yesterday. So now I've got the sleeve stitches on a bit of waste yarn, and even though it's not part of the pattern, I added a few stitches under the arm because I just prefer the fit of a pullover that has a few stitches underneath the arm. If you don't do them, it can feel quite tight. It's okay if the yoke is long enough and if you have enough stitches for your fronts and backs and the sleeves, but I felt I didn't want to have the yoke too deep. So there's a hair somewhere. So I decided to add, it's just 5 new stitches that I added, and yeah, did that on both sides. So these are going to be the sleeves. And then for the front and back, I started fading in the second color. So I started knitting with just the light color, and then I did a few rounds this color, a few rounds the other color, and now I'm down to just using this color, and I will use that for the rest of the front and back, and then I'll probably do the same fade on the sleeves and then add the ribbing in the dark color. That's the plan at the moment. So so this is the same, this is this yarn knitted with the both colors, and this is the crochet of the mix of the two colors. Colors really look crazy if I hold that up. But anyway, yeah, so that's what I'm knitting on. So basically I finished all the tutorials I wanted to film for this pullover, because I don't think I need to film the ribbing or the casting off or anything. I think that should be fairly easy and no problem. I'm just wondering whether I've made a tutorial about casting off. I'll have to check that out. I don't remember. Anyway, I now can just knit on the pullover as far as I want. I hope to finish it sometime this month. So maybe next month we can start the new knit along. But I'll let you know about that nearer to the time. So as I said, this is a bit of a shorter video due to crocheting most of the time on my dress, but I'm really happy that I finished it, that I managed to finish it within the time frame that we were given, and I'll be able to work on more different projects in the coming week. I hope you still enjoyed this shorter episode, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!